side here at the Jockey Club Hall. Now, as you may or may not know, William Shakespeare has a long-standing history in the UK. His plays are performed everywhere, from the world-renowned Globe Theatre to smaller productions at colleges and universities. Our next guest is from Coventry University, and the team there have been making waves with a piece of tech that they call the Shakespeare Portal. And here to tell us more about it is Tom Gorman. Now, welcome, Tom. Before we get into exactly what the Shakespeare Portal is, I believe we have some video, so let's take a look at that first.
And actually, I was all the time, I was waiting like, hey, they're going to jump in here through that screen at any moment now. And they don't run and end up here.
Because I've done camera work, but this wasn't quite it, because the situation was quite like a theater scene, where we were doing a scene from Coriolanus. We did it as a theater piece, kinda, but it wasn't camera acting because it was stage acting.
We had a sense of feeling that these English students and teachers were with us here in Tampere during the whole week, but their work, and this is I think the main point, that we were really having actual international collaborative workshop on Shakespeare and drama.
Every day something very different was happening. Every day we were learning something. We've just chatted this morning again, and one of the things we said was that we really felt we were only getting to grips with it by the very last day. That we really were only discovering what it could do by the end of the 2-week session.
We get much further than I thought. So, yeah, that was surprising, for me anyway. I didn't expect that we could go so far already in 1 week.
So I really felt that we met personally, and during the virtual lessons that we were in the same room, and the distance was not as well.
Now, Tom, just in case it wasn't obvious what the portal brings, could you boil down what the Shakespeare Portal is and how it works?
Okay, well that's the first version of it. We worked on Shakespeare's Coriolanus online. And what it was, we were trying to solve the problem of how do we perform and rehearse at a vast distance. And there's lots of stuff, lots of online tools available for education and for video conferencing, but there's nothing really to enable people to kind of act together and feel present together. So we repurposed video conferencing technology and set design and all the little tricks we know from making theatre to try and create a space that's shared over 2 universities over, I think it's 1,222 miles as the crow flies.
Right. So how did you come up with the idea for the portal itself?
It almost accidentally. We have a system at Coventry University called OIL, or Online International Learning, and I was sent to Temporary to set up a course. A colleague had met someone at a conference who's an expert in acting in a foreign language. And so I went to Finland to meet with them to set up initially what was meant to be a Skype lecture on acting in a foreign language, but we got very much carried away, and they wanted to do some Shakespeare. So actually Shakespeare was the Finnish idea, because they have great respect for Shakespeare, but they mainly would perform it themselves in the Finnish language. And they wanted to do it in English. They're all excellent English speakers. And Tina's expertise in temporary acting in a foreign language would help their students. But then we ran into the problem of how do you rehearse a play? There's more to rehearsing than just going into the rehearsal room. So we started to explore Skype, Google Hangouts, everything that we could think of, and everything was kind of inadequate because everything doesn't give you actual size, doesn't give you eye contact, doesn't give you the sense that you're actually sharing the space with another actor. So we saw an art installation which was based on Second Life, in which a kind of virtual room was mirrored with a real room. And Nico said, can we do this in real life? That's when we tried to do it in real life.
Tell us a little bit more about the Reimagine Education Award that the Portal won last year.
Well, that was a great honour. That's a series of awards known as the Oscars of Higher Education. We really didn't think we were going to have a chance of even getting nominated, never mind winning. We were nominated for the hybrid learning category, and we discovered that we didn't, they called out first, second and third, and that we didn't get anything. So we started to get into the free wine, and then we discovered why we didn't win is because we won the gold overall award for Best Arts and Humanities project, and had to drag our semi-drunken asses up on stage to accept that.
A unique way to accept an award, no doubt. The Shakespeare Portal has been described as a giant Stargate-style digital window, which is quite a futuristic way of describing something. Do you think that it could become a template for similar teaching?
I think so. I think it depends on the disciplines. Over the last few years, we've been working with lots of people who use lots of different systems to work together online. From kind of small handheld devices like mobile phones to large screen devices like our portal. And I think it depends on the discipline. I think to anyone wanting to work online, my advice is always think of the problem you want to solve first. And the solution is out there. It might take repurposing something that you already know. But I think it's fun to kind of think of how do we recreate the real world in a kind of digital community.
We've seen how the Shakespeare Portal works for stage production. What else could it be used for?
Well, we've actually begun experimenting in other aspects. We had a virtual banquet for Coventry 2021 dinner where our Vice-Chancellor and the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Temporary and various guests had a banquet together, and we performed King Lear for them. And then 3 weeks ago, we joined their winter ball. So we were actually present at their winter ball, and people danced together, they drank together. We didn't do a performance, there was a band in Temporary, and we had food in Coventry, and they had food, and we talked to guests as if we were there in the space. So it was really good fun. But we see other kind of purposes, especially with 2021 coming up in Coventry, being the city of culture, of interactive busking. At the minute, we're kind of blue sky thinking about what other fun we could have with this.
Maybe a few more glasses of wine required to come up with the idea. Now, visitors here today can see a version of the Shakespeare Portal in action. What can they expect to experience?
Well, we're going to demo 2 scenes from King Lear with 3 actors live in Tampere in Finland. I actually don't know the full distance between Tampere and Hong Kong, but it's very cold over there. And 3 actors who graduated last year from Coventry University, they're going to do 2 scenes from King Lear live together. It's not quite our kind of system that we use because it's a big video. Usually we have directional sound and we have the illusion of eye contact, but the Finns are very big and they're slightly higher up. So it's a version of it, but if anybody wants to see, we have plenty of clips online of the actual version in action, but it's going to be a live performance. So, fingers crossed.
Nonetheless. Tom, thank you very much for coming up here and talking us through the technology. I'm going to be a little preoccupied to view it first time round, but I should be around at 5 o'clock to watch it then, so I'm quite excited. And the 5 o'clock performance will take place in the Lupo Amphitheatre, which I believe is directly below us. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Gorman from Coventry University. Thank you.